Another physical test that we conduct to check the adequacy of materials is the measuring steel thickness. While a micrometer and or calipers can be used to determine flange and web thickness at the ends of members, the problem of picking up web readings along a stringer requires another method. One approach is to use an ultrasonic gauge like this one. The ultrasonic gauge, a handheld device about the size of a calculator, has a probe connected to it, which, when placed on the steel, determines the thickness by sending ultrasonic waves through the steel. So, the thickness of a particular steel component must be ensured and checked regularly to ensure that there is enough thickness that is being provided by that particular steel member or component that was used as a component of a particular bridge structure. So we can measure the thickness of that steel component using a micrometer or calipers. Although there are some instances wherein the use of this uh, equipment or device or equipment uh, can no longer provide the required measuring capability to be able to measure the thickness of a particular component of the steel member. Therefore, the use of ultrasonic gauges like this one must be imposed. So this ultrasonic gauge that you are seeing here uh, have a purpose of measuring the thickness of a steel element, like what you are seeing here. You are seeing here that the thickness of this particular hollow steel bar here is equivalent to 1.76. So you can see here that a probe connected to this device is being used to measure the actual thickness of that particular steel member. So the thickness is being measured by sending ultrasonic waves through the steel. And with that, the thickness reading will be shown on this uh, handheld device with the size of a calculator. So you can directly see the thickness of steel members with just using this ultrasonic gauge. So this handheld device is uh, advantageous to use for those steel members that cannot readily be measured by micrometer or calipers like this one. If we want to measure the thickness of this hollow post, we cannot measure the thickness of this particular hollow steel post here, because obviously the use of micrometer or caliper uh, is not uh, uh, available to be used to measure the thickness of this hollow steel post. Therefore, the use of ultrasonic gauge will be needed. And as you can see here, we just put the probe on the steel post, and then we immediately can read the actual thickness of the steel post, which is shown here, 0.503 inches. So in that way, we can assure that the steel member still has enough thickness to provide adequate strength to resist the loads that are being carried by that particular steel member. Because as we all know, the strength of a material, especially a steel member, uh, at some point uh, is based on its dimension or thickness. Therefore, adequate thickness must be provided always, or adequate thickness must always be ensured, so that we can assure that our steel member can still provide resistance to the loads that are being carried by it. So again, that is another method of physical testing with the purpose of giving us an information about the strength of a particular steel member by measuring its thickness to ensure that it still has a enough thickness to provide resistance.